What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, it's some of my early thoughts ahead of Game Week 4. So I'm going to talk about Ollie Watkins, who a lot of people are frustrated with, Jack Grealish, who a lot of people are loving right now, then go through the signings that happened on transfer deadline day on Monday, and then go through some thoughts for my team and what I'm going to do for Game Week 4 as well. So let's get into it. So let's start with Ollie Watkins. It's now 3 blanks in 3 game weeks for him. And in fact, Aston Villa haven't scored a single goal this season, which isn't ideal if you want to win football matches. What should you do with Watkins? So if you don't own him, you're probably not buying him. It's Everton away anyway this week. It's not an amazing fixture. That's easy. If I was wildcarding this week, despite the fact that Villa have Sunderland away in 5 and Burnley at home in 7, I'm not sure I would include Watkins, which tells me I'm not all that confident about him. I'd probably just go straight to Yorkeresh as a longer term pick. So it's not looking great for Watkins, but if you're an owner already, like he's already in your squad, it's a different conversation. Do you go through and use a free transfer to sell him? If you're in a position where you're just so frustrated with him, you're not having fun with FPL, well, then by all means sell him. But I think for most people, there's going to be a bigger priority in your team. Like I think about my own team, for example, Ismail Assar for Crystal Palace is probably going to be out injured. That's obviously a bigger priority to fix. One of my defenders is playing like Arsenal, Newcastle or Liverpool this week. I'm probably better off making a defender transfer before I sell Watkins. So I'm not happy with him. I wish I had a different forward in that spot. But I know for sure that once we get past Everton away and I spend my transfer on a higher value move, when I see Watkins playing Sunderland away, I'm going to feel okay. And obviously things can change quickly in FPL and football. If you look at all the reactions to game weeks 1, 2 and 3, it feels like every week there's a different player that's essential or absolutely must sell. And right now it's Watkins. And I think it's fine if you want to sell him. He's not been great and it is Everton away. But for most people, I just do not imagine that's your most priority move in your squad. Like he's still put up 0.38 expected goals per 90 so far. He is getting some chances. Not a lot, mind you. I wish he was getting more. But the fixture, surely Sunderland away and Burnley at home, the goals are coming. So if you've got the luxury of selling him, absolutely fair enough. I do not begrudge anyone doing that. But for most of us, I think we're probably going to have to stick out the fixtures. So Jack Grealish is absolutely smashing it for Everton already. 4 assists in the 2 games that he started so far, which has caused his price to go from 6.5 to 6.7 million. Over 600,000 FPL managers have already bought him ahead of Aston Villa at home in Game Week 4. So he's super popular. Is he a good option to bring in? I would say yes. He's definitely worth considering. Between 6 and 7 million for midfielders, I would say there's not really like a standout option. Like if you look at the players that have done well so far, like Enzo Fernandez, Grealish, Paquetá's 5.9 million. Sar's obviously picked up an injury. Going to talk about that with my own team later. Njai is also 6.5. Szoboszlai just got that free kick, 6.5, etc. Same with Declan Rice. Like they're all okay, but I wouldn't say any of them are the obvious pick to buy. So for that reason, Jack Grealish is a good option at 6.7 million. I don't think he's so good that he has to be transferred in as soon as possible, though. Like they do have Liverpool away in Game Week 5, not an ideal fixture. Outside of that, it is 3 home games in the next 4, Villa, West Ham, Palace, which looks pretty good. But you can always buy him later on. You could buy him before West Ham in Game Week 6 if you wanted to. So if you're looking for a new midfielder under 7, he's worth considering. But I wouldn't look at 4 assists in 2 games and think I've got to have him at all costs. And also, I think I'd probably still rather buy Njai. He's 0.2 million cheaper. And as far as we know, he's still first choice penalty taker for Everton. And it's not like he's done nothing so far this season. It's 2 goals in his last 2 games, which is obviously not as good as what Grealish has done. But going forward, if I'm putting money on which one of the 2 continues scoring the most points, I think it would probably be Njai. So he'd probably be my preference. I think the 0.2 million saving probably helps a little bit as well. And I just love a penalty taker. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with Grealish. If you need a new midfielder this week and you want to go for him, absolutely go for it, because I don't think there's a standout in that bracket. Like Kudus is fine as well, etc. I can list off loads of midfielders, but none of them are the obvious pick, I would say. So Grealish, yeah, absolutely fine. So I just want to talk about some of the transfer activity that happened on Monday for the final day of the transfer window and how it might impact our FPL teams. So for Liverpool, the big one was Alexander Isak coming in, which we kind of knew was going to happen, but it's now absolutely official. Personally, I don't think he's going to start in Game Week 4. Or at least I think there's a big enough chance that he doesn't start, which means he's not worth going for. And I don't even know if he'll start game week 5 either. We have to remember he's not had a proper preseason. He's not been training properly with Newcastle. He's not had any minutes so far in the Premier League. They don't need to throw him straight in because Ekitike is there. So I think game week 4, if you've got Ekitike, I'd be keeping him for Burnley away. If you're on wildcard this week, I think you have to ignore both of them. But if you're sat there with Ekitike in your team, Burnley away, I'm keeping him. He probably will get subbed early for ISAK around the 70th, 75th minute. But the fixture's so good, there's no need to sell him. But I think with ISAK, you just can't go there. It's just too much money. Over 10 million, you can't even be sure he's going to start game week 4. Even the Sweden manager said that he's not ready to play 90 minutes right now. We can obviously wait and see what happens over the international break and how many minutes he gets. But I just think he's in a void for now. And after game week 5, the fixtures still aren't bad for Liverpool, but we can just reassess it then. So personally, I think, Ekitike will start and Gakpo will be left wing. I think longer term, it reduces the minutes for all of them. Because even if ISAK starts, which he will, right? We all know he's going to be first choice number 9. Ekitike can sub on for him. And there might be some games where Arne Slot plays both Ekitike and ISAK and Gakpo has reduced minutes. And that's not to say that Ekitike or ISAK are going to play as left wingers, but maybe he'll set up in some kind of weird 4-4-2 or some lopsided formation the tacticos can tell you about. I just think they're all going to be ignores for now, longer term, but not a panic straight away. So if you've got Gakpo, you've got Ekitike, like I said, keep them. Gay stays at Palace. So obviously that's good for Crystal Palace. It's also good for us, that those of us that have Palace players in our FPL teams, because it means Glasner's going to stay. There was some rumours going around that he might just walk, but Gay is staying. I still think Konate obviously is going to start most matches, but he's just not good value. So if you were planning on getting Gay in because he's moving to Liverpool, that's not happening. For Spurs, they've loaned Kolo Muani. We don't yet know how long Solanke is out for, but there's rumours going around he could be out for like a couple of months. So obviously this is cover for that. And I also just think they needed probably another attacker anyway, even if Solanke is available. Muani can play across the front 3, but I think he's primarily going to be used as a number 9, which impacts Richarlison's minutes. Now, both Muani and Richarlison could play off the left as well, but obviously they've got Brennan Johnson there, Kudus on the right. So again, I just think going forward, they're probably just all worth avoiding until we see more. If it's a case that Richarlison keeps everyone else out of the team, then you could look at him, but he will get subbed early with options off the bench. 70, 75 minutes. For his price at 6.7 million, given the fact he'd probably be first choice penalty taker with no Solanke, you could still look at him, but for 6.5 you can get Strand Larsen, who's got Leeds, Burnley and Sunderland all to come between game weeks 5 and 9, and his minutes are pretty much secure. So Spurs attackers right now, I just think there's too much unknowns. If I was going to go for one, it would probably be Kudus, but I don't know. I'd probably ignore all right now. And Xavi Simons, who probably will play regular minutes, by the way, in the number 10, is coming at 7 million. So it's a good price. I think if you wanted to go there straight away, that's fine. But I don't know. It's not a must-buy price or anything like that. For Chelsea, Nicholas Jackson's gone on loan to Bayern Munich. Mark Guiu has been recalled from Sunderland. And obviously, João Pedro's minutes are just great now because Liam Delap is injured. For those of you that have got Guiu in your squad, he's obviously now going to be a Chelsea player when FPL changed that. So if you've got 2 other Chelsea players, you can't buy a third one. And if you've got 3 Chelsea players and Guiu, you've now got 4 total, and you will have to transfer one of them out next time you want to make a transfer, which is a bit annoying. And no, you don't get a free transfer to do that. For anyone hoping that Guiu's going to go in, I just don't see it. I think João Pedro will primarily play number 9, and when Palmer's fit, he'll just play number 10. And that'll be it. And if he wants to play Palmer on the right, he can always play Enzo Fernandez potentially as a number 10 as well. I just don't think Guiu's going to get regular minutes. I just think they put themselves in a position where Delap's out for a while and Jackson's on loan. They had to get another body in, and the easiest way was to recall Mark Guiu. So maybe if they get another injury, he might play, but I'm not convinced he gets many minutes. I even think Tyreek George, who's staying at Chelsea, or Pedro Neto will play number 9 just as much as Guiu will. So he's not really an option. He's obviously dropped to 4.4. But João Pedro's minutes have got to be great right now. So he looks like a much better option in my eyes, at least, than he was at the start of the season. But I appreciate he's done really well anyway. And then for Newcastle, Voltemada's been priced at 7 million. So I got the Xavi Simons price right, but not the Voltemada one. I thought he was going to be 7.5. Vissa has also signed as well. Now, Vissa's not played any minutes for Brentford, but I just think both of those players are going to be in a void. I don't know who's going to be first choice number 9. Will they play both? We know Vissa can play off the left. We've seen that for Brentford. He hasn't always been a number 9. So they could play together. That might impact Barnes, Gordon's minutes, etc. But I think realistically, Gordon will be first choice left wing, and Voltemada and Visser will compete for that number 9 spot. For what it's worth, I think if Visser had been playing for Brentford and was like fully match fit, I actually think there's a good chance he would just go in as the main striker and Voltemada would be used a little bit less for now, because Visser's obviously got that Premier League experience. Again, it's just, who knows, right, what they're going to do. And so both are probably just worth avoiding. If Visser goes to African Cup of Nations, then Voltemada later on for 7 million could be a really nice option. Newcastle have decent fixtures around game week 15, but that's so far away. Who really cares about it right now? And also penalties are up for grabs. We know that Gordon was next in line after ISAK. Will that now be the case? Possibly. So Anthony Gordon becomes a better option if he's on penalties. But will his minutes be good on that left wing spot? We'll have to wait and see because there's a lot of competition now. If he starts, Barnes can always sub on for him. So I think for Newcastle attackers, I'd probably be ignoring them for now. If you've got Barnes or Elanga, probably hold on to them because I think they'll start against Wolves. But for everyone else, just wait and see. So Aston Villa made quite a few new signings on deadline day. Jadon Sancho in on loan from Man United. He's listed as a 5.9 million midfielder in FPL. Not super convinced that he goes straight into the team, but one to keep an eye on. Villa have got quite a few options now in those wider positions, and they don't necessarily play as traditional wingers. They often play a bit narrower than that. That might suit Sancho, potentially. But you've got Rodgers that's been playing wide. You've got Gesson as well. Marlon's there too. Sancho. There's just so many options. I just don't think I would rush out and buy Jadon Sancho. And also it's Everton away this week, so you can wait and see how Unai Emery sets up, how many minutes these players get, and then decide what to do ahead of Sunderland away, Fulham at home, and Burnley in game week 7. Harvey Elliott also in from Liverpool. I think that's on a loan deal right now with an obligation to buy next summer. He's only a 5.4 million midfielder in FPL. Now, I tweeted to say that I wasn't convinced that he would go straight in and get regular minutes. Villa fans seem to think the opposite. They reckon he's going to go straight in, a lot of them do anyway, and play as the number 10. Now, if that happens, 5.4 million is very interesting. Now, again, you can wait and see what happens against Everton, then maybe pick him up before the Sunderland game. But it's just yet another cheap midfielder to add to the ever-growing list, like Anderson, Reinders, Dewsbury Hall, etc. Now Harvey Elliott of 5.4 million. We've got a pick of options if he gets good minutes. And by the sounds of it, he may well do. So if Rodgers is going to play off the left and Elliott's going to play number 10, there's only really one more spot on the right. That's why I'm saying Jadon Sancho just wouldn't go there right now. We know that Gesson and Marlon can play up front as well. So I wonder if with these new signings to play in other positions, they might reduce Watkins' minutes indirectly a little bit so that Watkins is still starting, but he's not playing 90 every single week, especially when Europe starts up. So it's just another concern with Ollie Watkins. But again, if you've got him, there's probably no need to rush out and sell him. And then Lindelof also in 4.5 million, probably not going to start regularly. I guess one to keep an eye on. With Fulham, they've signed a couple of wingers, Kevin and Chuck Wets. I don't know how you say that name. Chukwueze. I'll learn that if he starts playing quite regularly for Fulham. And Harry Wilson stays. Interestingly, they were trying to sell Wilson to Leeds, or at least there was talk of a deal happening, and it just didn't go through. Now, I'm not sure if that was on Leeds' side or Fulham's side, or Harry Wilson chose to stay or whatever. But for anyone that's got him, that's not necessarily great for his minutes that they were almost selling him. But he's there. And I guess Marco Silva will use him at times. The fixtures are good for the next two. So don't buy Harry Wilson. But if you've got him, I guess you could risk it. But as I said in pre-season with Wilson, they were trying to sign new wingers. They've done that now. There's just too much competition for places. They're just all going to be worth ignoring, I would say. Josh King hopefully will continue to start for those of you that have got him. But elsewhere, you're probably ignoring Fulham players for the most part. Forest have signed Zinchenko from Arsenal. Again, on loan, I think that is. He's a 4.9 million defender in FPL. But presumably, if he's going to get used for Forest, it'll be in midfield. So that is going to be interesting for FPL potentially. But Forest have got so many options. Like they're at the point where they've got so many options, they're probably just all worth ignoring. Apart from Elliot Anderson, maybe Gibbs White, and then Chris Wood up front. Anyone new, I'm just not convinced they're going to go straight in. Like they also signed another winger, Dilam Bakwa. Again, I'm probably saying that wrong. If I am, I'm sorry. And then Cubano, a left back. So Nico Williams potentially at threat now. I think with Nico Williams, he will continue to start. So I wouldn't panic about it too much. And they have got Europe, so they're building squad depth as well. But it's one to keep an eye on. Like if Nico Williams does get reduced minutes or comes out of the team, that's obviously a problem. But I think for most people with a Forest defender, after Arsenal away, you've got the Sunderland-Burnley games. You're keeping them for that. And then after that, they can probably go anyway. So there's no need to panic, and no one should be buying a Forest defender this week either way. And then for Man City, at the time of recording, Ederson has only just been confirmed on Tuesday morning that he's leaving. Donnarumma, I think, has joined, but we don't have official confirmation from Man City. So David Ornstein tweeted to say that Donnarumma has agreed a deal, etc., but they haven't announced it yet. I wonder if that's because they were waiting for Ederson to leave first, and now they're going to announce Donnarumma. Obviously, if he does join, that means Trafford's spot is at risk. And I assume Donnarumma will come in at 5.5 million, the same price that Ederson was. Probably both worth ignoring for now, but when the fixtures swing a little bit from game week 6 onwards, or maybe if you wait until game weeks 12, 13, could be worth looking at. But, I mean, it's a goalkeeper. How excited can you get about that, really? So I just want to run through some early thoughts for my own team ahead of Game Week 4. Obviously, we're in an international break right now, so there's no need to make any rash decisions or early transfers because anything could happen on international duty, like injuries and stuff like that. But I want to let you know where I'm at right now. My biggest problems are probably Ismail Assar, who looks to have picked up a hamstring injury against Aston Villa, who's currently yellow flagged. If he was fit, it'd be amazing, right? Sunderland at home, but that doesn't look like it's going to be the case. There was a tweet I saw this morning from someone that looks like they cover the Senegal team, and they said that Sarah's pulled out of that, and he's got a grade 2 hamstring problem. If that's the case, I'm no medical expert, but I did a quick Google, and it said the recovery time for that is 4 to 8 weeks. So there is a chance that we don't see Sarr until after the next international break. Now, obviously, I'm not going to go out and sell him just yet. I'll wait until Crystal Palace says something or until Glasner says something. But I'm pretty convinced he's not going to play against Sunderland at home. So that's a bit of a problem. I would also say my defence is a slight problem as well. So I've got Sanchez in goal, Brentford away, that's fine. Joachim Andersen against Leeds away, that's also fine. And then Pedro Porro against West Ham away. But my third defender, the choices are Nico Williams against Arsenal away, Agbadou against Newcastle away, and Esteve against Liverpool at home. So I don't see any of them keeping a clean sheet, and the chances of them getting attacking returns is also quite low. So my intended move before that Sarr injury was Nico Williams to Munoz, and I might still do that. Because if I'm going to free hit 6, I can get rid of my Palace players against Liverpool anyway. I can pick up Erling Haaland, for example. I still quite like that strategy. So there is a chance that I just do Nico Williams to Munoz, my defence looks pretty good, and I just bench Sarr. Because now I've done Palmer and Guiu in game week 3 to Sarr and Mateta, I've got an 8th attacker in Dewsbury Hall. So instead of Sarr playing this week, I could just play Strand Larsen. Now, as it stands at the moment, he is also yellow flagged because he had an injury apparently in game week 3. I'm not quite sure whether it was an actual injury or whether it was just to get him out of the limelight because of all the transfer speculation. But he did seem to be suffering with something in game weeks 1 and 2. So it might be a genuine issue. But if he's back and Sarr's out, I can just play 3-4-3. So Salah against Burnley at home, Salah against Burnley away, captain. Bruno Fernandes just stays, like he probably will for a while, because I'm always going to have something else to deal with instead. Wirtz, obviously, Burnley away. He's not been great, like Watkins, 3 blanks in 3 game weeks, but I think he looked okay in the second half against Arsenal. And Burnley's a good fixture. I'm not going to sell him. Dewsbury Hall against Villa at home. Like, I don't necessarily want to play him every week, but I think he's fine as an enabler. And then Strand Larsen, Newcastle away, Mateta, Sunderland at home, and Watkins, Everton away. So just by default, Wirtz, Fernandes, and Watkins are going to have to stay for me. So I've just got bigger issues to worry about. And with Strand Larsen, I'm quite happy that he stayed at Wolves, to be honest, because after Newcastle away, it's Leeds at home, Spurs away, Brighton at home, Sunderland away, Burnley at home. So between 5 and 9, he plays all 3 of the newly promoted sides. So for 6.5 million, I just think that's really good value. So I could just do Nico Williams to Munoz and then just play Strand Larsen and just deal with Sarr later. Like, that's a potential option. If it turns out that he's only out for a week or 2, then I might just delay my bench boost, which I was planning to play in game week 5, and just keep hold of him because long term he's still a good option. It all depends how long he's out for. In terms of replacements for Sarr, as I spoke about with Grealish, there's not a huge amount of options that I'm necessarily that keen on. Like, I do have 0.9 million in the bank, so I could go from Sarr straight to Semenyo, and he's not a bad option, but that gives me no money to replace players elsewhere. So that's on my mind. I will say this, though, and I know I'm going on a bit of a ramble here. If I just get on board with playing a bad defender this week. So let's just say I play Nico Williams against Arsenal away. In game week 5, my defenders actually look absolutely fine. Like Anderson against Brentford at home, Pedro Porro against Brighton away, Nico Williams himself has got Burnley away, and I think he'll keep his place for now despite the Forest signings. Estev's Forest at home and Agbadou Leeds at home. So if I just don't make a defender transfer, all my defenders are fine for bench boost in game week 5. Then I can just deal with Sarr. So I could potentially just do the Semenyo move and then just play Dewsbury Hall against Liverpool away on the bench boost. Because if I optimise the team, that is my bench for game week 5. Sanchez against Man United away, Dewsbury Hall against Liverpool away, Porro against Brighton away, and Esteve against Forest at home. I don't know if I'm going to get a much better bench boost until I wildcard, and I don't want to wildcard then have to bench boost after. So that's why I'm not necessarily going to make a defender move, even though one of my defenders doesn't look great in 4, because they look fine in 5. And by the way, if you want to use the My Team tool, get your suggested transfers and stuff like that, links in the description below. There's still 50% off at the moment if you sign up on Fantasy Football Hub. Links in the description below as a side note. So yeah, I could just do that and then just deal with Sarr in game week 5. It also gives me another week of thinking time to who I replace him with. Because if I don't go for Semenyo, I've already spoken about Grealish. I'm just not going to buy him when he's got Liverpool away in game week 5. Because I'm already bench boosting potentially with Dewsbury Hall. I don't want 2 Everton attackers. Like Enzo Fernandez at 6.6. He's got 1 goal, 1 assist in each of his last 2 games. If Palmer was out for a while and he was ahead of João Pedro for penalties, I would definitely consider him. And the fixtures are not bad. He's just not a signing that he's not a transfer that I can get excited about. Paquetá at 5.9. I mean, he's staying at West Ham. He's on penalties. He's absolutely nailed for minutes. Long term, the fixtures are quite good. Just put him in as a set and forget. Reinders is another one I could look at. Obviously, he's got Man United this week. The problem with him is, if I bench boost in 5, he's got Arsenal away. That's his worst fixture of the next 6 games, 7 games. So I'm not as convinced as other people about. Sorry, it's not that I'm convinced, right? I'm just not excited about the picks between 6 and 7 million. I've looked at Brighton as well, like Matoma or even Ruta for 5.9 million, because Matt O'Reilly is left on loan from Brighton. So Ruta might play number 10 regularly, could play number 9. The problem is, there's so many attackers for that Brighton team. You're never fully convinced they're going to start. And also, the early subs are there. And Hertzler never tells us when players are injured, or almost never does. He never gives us proper info, and it's just super frustrating. But Matoma's minutes are pretty great. And I could, and I know I'm rambling a bit here, I could put the decision off until game week 5 and just buy a Brighton player before Spurs at home. Because then it's Chelsea away, which is not great. But then Wolves away, Newcastle at home, Man United away, Leeds at home, Palace away, Brentford at home. Long term, the fixtures are quite good for Brighton. Just do I want to put myself through having a Brighton player? I'm not convinced I do at all. But that is potentially something I could do. Is even just roll in game week 4, or do the Nico Williams move out to Munoz, put him in, make those transfers. Team looks really good for game week 4. Strand Larsen would probably be on the pitch instead of Sarr. And then in game week 5, I just make the Sarr move. I've got 7 million to spend. And I could just go for someone like Matoma against Spurs at home. Potentially. And then just play my bench boost. And then free hit in game week 6 and get Haaland in for captaincy. And obviously Mateta and Munoz would play Liverpool at home that week. I would just take him out. So, yeah, there's a lot of options. I think because I've now got that 8th attacker, I'm not in such a panic about Sarr. So I think the options are, do Nico Williams to Munoz as already planned, and then decide in game week 5 whether to bench boost and get rid of Sarr and who for, or potentially even to roll in game week 4. I'm not completely against doing that despite my defence, just because of how good the defence looks moving forward. Anyway, ramble over. If you've enjoyed that video, make sure to give it a like and hit that subscribe button. Check out Fantasy Football Hub using the links in the description below, or scan the QR code on screen for your suggested transfers. And I will catch you, probably have one more video this week, and then that'll be it until next week, I think, once we got more information from the international break. But it's all a bit fluid in terms of videos right now, so I'll decide what to do later on today. And yeah, I'll catch you soon. Either way, just relax over the international break. There's lots of info to be gathered. You don't need to rush out and make moves. Take a step away from FPL for a couple of days, do something else, and then we'll all come back next week and have a great game week and lots of green arrows, I'm sure. I'll catch you later.